welcome to the Inspired Riding Podcast. I'm your host, Beth Lauren Parrish. As a certified riding instructor, remote coach, and animal communicator, I bridge the gap between your inner and outer worlds as you strive to enhance all aspects of your riding. I'm here to remind you that you are powerful and more than capable of changing your reality with your horse time.
Hello, everyone. Good evening, good morning, wherever you are. I am so excited to introduce to you, or if you know her already, Anneke Morel, and she is an animal naturopath. And I'm so excited that she's here. We've actually presented her bio to my private group, the Inspired Riding Connection, and they produced some beautiful questions that we will be asking her throughout the interview. So Anneke, thank you so much for being here, and please let people know a little more about you if you like.
No problem. Hi, welcome. It's so I'm based in Australia, so originally from South Africa, so you'll find the accent a bit strange. So that's basically where I'm from. But so I'm a naturopath, and I kind of always loved animals. So I ended up learning more about animal health and courses and stuff. So I started treating animals probably my own years ago, but kind of just got into the really great results I've had. And then when I became a naturopath, a lot of my clients would ask, "Oh, my dog's got this, can you help me?" And I would be like, "Yeah, sure," so that kind of put me on the path of really finding, I think, my life goal. So I've always loved animals. It's just I've never thought of myself as being able to help them other than my own. So I think for me that's been a joy, finding your soul's purpose, and that's what I feel that I found. So yes, just loving and helping and wanting to be there for people and opening people's eyes to how we can look after our pets in a more natural way. Yeah.
That's beautiful. So you're basically inspired to continue learning and helping others with their animals too. That's just awesome.
Yeah.
So cool. So I'm going to start out with a really fun question.
Okay.
If you were handed $10 million, what would be the first thing you would do?
Wow. Okay. Hey, realistic, pay off debt.
There you go.
Own the house, do all those things that you want to do.
Yeah.
And then I probably put the money away somewhere to invest it to kind of grow and definitely help. I've got so many people and so many groups that, I work as a volunteer for an animal rescue, for a dog rescue. So, just putting money back into those worthy causes and those people who rescue animals and help animals. I've got a few friends who's taken on animals without going on the path of an animal charity, but just through their work, helping them out. And there's so many worthy causes out there, to kind of be able to just distribute and help other people, I think would be the biggest thing. Yeah.
That's beautiful. I love it. Yes.
I've got a cat here.
Let's make it so.
Make it so. Totally.
So tell me a little bit about your horse experience. When did you first start riding, and what was that experience like for you?
So I started riding when I was about 10 years old at a riding stables. I think I went every second week or once a month. I can't remember now, but it wasn't every week because it was quite expensive. So it was never the possibility to own your own horse while I was with my at home. But yeah, riding school, and it was a jumping stables. So it was pretty good. We had a pretty good training. Put me out of my comfort zone quite a bit. I remember looking at those combinations and just going, "Oh my God," But yeah, that's where I started.
You went for it, huh?
Yeah.
That's
and it just
cool.
progressed. Yeah.
So you started out jumping as a child as well, huh?
Yeah, I started out jumping, but it's never something I loved. I met a lady when I was in university. She was actually a friend of mine's parents had a couple of Arabians, and she wanted me to come and ride one of them just because there was too many horses for them. So I ended up riding, and the lady that taught her was a dressage rider, which was my first introduction to real dressage. But she was quite amazing because she actually rode the Lipizzanas. So in South Africa is one of the only centers outside of Vienna that's got a proper Lipizzana center. So she was taught to ride by them. So when you saw her on a horse, she was just mind-blowing because she just sat there and the horse was just amazing. So I wanted in.
That's fantastic. So you learned dressage from her then?
Yeah, and it was such a soft way of riding. It wasn't this, it was the way that she rode was a lot more than classical riding, than the really, kick the horse from the into the hand and all that stuff. Yeah, it was a lot gentler, and she was
kinder.
Really,
not as much the competition side.
She's really inspiring as an individual and as a rider. Yeah,
that's beautiful. I'm so glad you got to do that with her.
Yeah, no, that was.
So do you still ride that way now?
I probably gone back to that way now. So when I came to Australia, I rode for a number of years, and then life happened. Went to West Africa for work for a couple of years, so then rode in the French riding schools there, which was good as well, because that was the similar thing. It was very like the softer way of riding. And then when I came to Australia, I didn't ride for a couple of years and got back into it when my eldest daughter got into riding, and I was like sitting next to the ring going, I need to do this again. So I got back into it, but it was a lot more of your, I don't want to say abusive, but it was a lot more, how can I say it? Like forceful, like you would use the whip, and there was a lot of kicking and pulling, and it was just not a great fun experience. When your arms are sore at the end of the lesson, that's not a good thing. So I was at that stables for a couple of years because I just did my horse there, which is, I think you guys call it boarding.
Right, and you call it adjustment, is that right?
Yeah, it's an Australian thing. In South Africa, it's
okay.
not so my horse was there, and so it was very different. But then when I got my own property, I moved, and that was great.
And then it's like heaven having your horse right there, right?
Yes. Yeah. And then I had another trainer that worked with me that was much gentler. Like I have a friend of mine who's fantastic. She's a Grand Prix rider, so she taught me a lot, and she learned a lot. She developed over the years as well into understanding and listening to a horse more.
Isn't that wonderful?
It was really amazing to see how she changed. And then I had another German taught instructor, but a fantastic, honestly, like just soft, more of the classical way of teaching. Yeah, she was really good. She is one of the better instructors I've had.
So glad you had that and you were able to continue it. So that's good.
Yeah, making you learn how to listen to the horse.
Totally. Let's see. Can you describe one of your best riding lessons and what happened in there? That made it so good.
There's been a few. I think one of the ones that gave me the greatest feeling of like, wow, this is amazing, was when I cracked the flying changes, and that feeling of that horse just changing under you. That was like something I remember as being like, I walked away feeling like I was on a cloud, because it was like, wow, And then another one was when I was riding him, and I could actually, and now he was taught in a really like heavy in the hand. If you didn't have a double bridle or draw reins on, you couldn't get him on the bit. So, and I working with my friend, I got him to be able to ride him in a snaffle on the bit, giving me his back, and that feeling of being able to extend the canter and then just bring him back with your core without having to yank. And he was just like that. Oh, I get goosebumps even now when I talk about it. Yeah. When you feel them under you, and you can just feel them as, it's almost like you mold into the horse, if that makes sense, and you just want it.
And they're giving you a present, like, here you go, Mom.
Yeah. Yeah, I get
Yeah.
goosebumps thinking of that. That was, yeah, that's truly one of the greatest feelings out there. Yeah.
That really is the coolest feeling. I still remember teaching one of my beginner riders how to ride, and she finally felt that feeling from my warm blood, and she went, "What's actually happening?" When she was like shocked. I'm like, "Welcome to riding." It was so darling. I was so excited for her. But yeah, there is that gorgeous sweet spot that you get to,
Yeah.
and the horse is like, "Here you go. This is our
Yeah.
next level."
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's like sitting on a cloud, when you get that trot and it's just floating and it's just like, how is this possible, Yeah, it's amazing. It's
They said,
amazing.
"Yes, you're riding correctly. I will offer you what I do without you." Right?
Yeah.
So fun. So I want to get into the questions that my clients had asked in the connection, if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Getting into your expertise, I just wanted to kind of warm us up with the fun riding stuff too. Well, this is fun, of course, as well. So we're going to start out with, I'm going to start out with Gemma's question, and she wanted to know if you have any ideas for, let's see, support for the metabolic horse, helping break down scar adhesions, gelding scar adhesions, and then alternatives to bute and prevocox.
Okay, so so the metabolic horse, we need to look at the metabolic horse like we look at human, insulin resistance. So it's an issue with, it's a metabolic issue where the body is not listening to the cells, and there's a disjointed dysfunction going on in the body, and it's one of those things which can be fixed, but it is hard work. You kind of have to really address the diet. You have to get them off the high sugar, you have to get them off the grain. You have to look at the more natural way of how the horses are fed. So I haven't finished my nutrition side of equine nutrition yet, but I kind of have learned a lot just from reading and stuff. And I had my warm blood, the original one I had, or the first one I had, he was a metabolic horse. So I struggled with him quite a bit to kind of make sure that he didn't have sore feet or that he didn't get the cresty neck and all that. And I've got a little miniature pony at the moment, which of course, looks at a piece of hay and, sugar goes out the door. So really getting that diet down packed is really important. Giving them exercise to let them keep moving, that's really important. And then there's herbal stuff you can do. Basically, you can use your berberine type herbs in that respect, where you can help them manage their blood sugar, adding chromium, making sure the liver works well. It's very similar to your Cushion's horse in a way. So you're kind of looking at how blood sugar works and how the body needs to work in a symphony, if that makes sense. So you want the liver to be able to work. You want the toxins from the liver to be able to excrete it. So you've got to look at the whole system. You can't just go, okay, well, I'm just going to give it metformin. You can't do just one thing, because that just fixes one part of the problem. It doesn't fix the whole disjointed regulatory system, if that makes sense. So, but yeah, for anyone out there, definitely diet would be first. You want to get them off high sugar oats and wheaten hays, and in Australia we've got what we call meadow hay. So I think there's different names for different ones. We don't have the best hays, especially where we are, because it's so dry, which is probably not a bad thing, because the worst grass is probably the best for the horse, if that makes sense.
Right.
Yes. Yeah. So yeah, and just making sure in those changes of seasons that you keep an eye on them and not let them pig out too much. Jenny Craig paddocks, as we call them, which is a weight loss program in Australia.
That's fantastic. That's a good metaphor.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah, and then what was the other question? It was the gelding scar. So
helping to break down gelding scar adhesions. Do you know much about that? Or?
Yeah, interestingly enough, it's something I came across not long ago. So the gelding scar adhesion, and then of course your ovary for the mare, they also have adhesions in that respect. So the only way we can really address it is, yes, you can use it through herbs, and again, there it is, you're working with your herbs that will stop the adhesions from happening. and also help with the elimination of toxins and things like that. But I think the main thing for that would be, like we have an osteopath that would do the whole, in Australia, only vets can do internals. So they have a vet that would internally go in through the rectum, and then they would manipulate and break down the adhesions. And it's made a big difference for a lot of people whose horses have them. And then the osteopath or massage therapist would come up and then massage on the external side to help that stick. And normally they only need to do it once or twice, and they're good. Yeah. So my mare had an adhesion on her left ovary, I think, left ovary to the bladder wall. But it was, for the mares, it was more of a rotation. Hers weren't rotated, which was great, but it was adhered, so that she was able to break that down, and it made a huge difference. And then building up, going through the exercises to build up the muscle, which had been wasted because of they move differently when that happens. But yeah, it makes a huge difference to them. Yeah, and so if you have a young horse and it's being gelded, it's important to not lock it up. It needs to move, because when it's moving, those adhesions doesn't happen. So yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah,
then it can heal properly.
Yeah, and the other one was the Butte and Prevenox. So there are various different ones. Of course, the herbal ones won't work as fast or as strong as your pharmaceutical ones, but I like the herbal ones because they take the edge off, but they don't let the horse forget that they're in pain. So if you give them Butte, they can still go run around and just aggravate the injury. Whereas if you put them on the herbal anti-inflammatories and pain relievers, it's more a question of they're still aware that they're sore, so they're probably less likely to then go around and carry on like idiots. And yeah, so there's a couple of ones. It's like white willow is probably your most commonly used one. Devil's claw. Turmeric is a great one to add in combination with others, because it works. It's a really good pain, and it doesn't work through the COX receptors, which causes the stomach issues. So it works on a different pathway to get rid of, to help with pain and inflammation. Yeah. So yeah, there's a couple of different ones that can, depending on why you're using Butte for, what's the reason, you'll probably choose different ones. Yeah.
That's excellent. And so do you do consultations for people with their horses to help them figure out which is best? Or?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, I do like a full. It's a bit different from seeing the vet. And I'm not a veterinarian, and I don't diagnose. So you just come to me and say, my vet has diagnosed my horse with this, and I need to put this. Is there something else I can do? And I can go, yeah, absolutely. You can use this, and this. So always, you just have to say that.
Yes, that's good.
Basically, I'm working on. I look at myself as more as in the preventative side of things. So if you have an issue that's occurred, like reoccurring ulcers and things like that, I do consults with people, and we take the whole history of the horse. We don't just look at what's the current program, because that's the way that naturopathy and the holistic, you look at everything. You don't just look at today. You look at what happened 10 years ago, because the problem could have started 10 years ago and it's never been addressed. So, when you kind of put the puzzle together, it's really fascinating when you see how these pieces knock onto, it becomes like a knock-on effect.
Yeah, it's like kind of like they have their programs running, and so you need to either like take that program out and reinstall with something else, or just hit a restart. Or
yeah, that's a good way of looking at it. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Well, thank you for answering that. Okay, so let's see. Kelly wanted to know any suggestions for skin or eye irritations in the gray horses, the white horses.
Okay, so gray horses, if it's my biggest problem would be cancer for them. So wearing eye protection, so fly veils would probably be the best protection, because you're protecting the eye against the sun. So for me, the first thing, if you've got a horse that's got the white, that you can see the white sclera, or a lot of horses have got it's a pigmented in the eye, but the white horses, of course, don't have it, and quite often chestnuts as well. You'll find that they have it's real like pink in the eye, and the little fold of skin. I think, and for those horses especially, definitely wearing eye protection or fly veils, and I like the black fly veils. They have done studies to say that the other colors they don't see as well through them. I don't know, but yeah, anyway, so I kind of always use the black ones, and you get ones that's got like a visor at the top that even gives a bit more shade as well. So there's various really good ones, as long as it is away from the eye. It's the most important.
Excellent. You know what? If you wouldn't mind sharing me a link about that one, I'd love to take a look at the ones you recommend.
Yeah,
I'm always curious about that. So
yeah, I will have a look. I think it's called Visor, but I don't know where the brand is, if it's an Australian brand or an international brand.
or if
I'll
they
have to
ship
have a look.
internationally, that was always my first question, because I always find such wonderful companies, especially in Australia. I'm like, you guys ship to the US, please?
Yes.
If not, you should. So
I do.
I try to convince them.
Yeah, and if your horse has got a close, an eye to me is always a vet call. So if you see an ulcer or anything on the eye, don't stuff around with it. Just call the vet, because literally within days that horse can lose its sight. So yeah, I think you don't stuff around with eyes. But if your horse has got like a runny eye, and it's you kind of go, well, why has it got? Has it got allergies? Is that why it's running? Has it got a little irritation? If you just want to wash it out, clean it out, a good saline solution is always your first go. Something called Eyes Bright is a herb that you can brew up into a tea, and then when it's cooled down, you can just use it like on cotton wool and just dab it around the eye. The same with chamomile or green tea, because both chamomile and green tea has got an element of an antimicrobial in it. So yeah, and the Eyes Bright's the same. Yeah, so
it's interesting you say that, because my uncle's an eye doctor, and he said if you ever have a sty on your eye, you should take a hot tea bag to help reduce the swelling in there.
Yeah, that'll be because of the tannins pulling out.
Exactly.
That's awesome. Yeah,
that's so cool. See, I'm confirming things I knew, sort of. So I love it. Awesome. Okay, let's see. So the next one is from Kara. She had several questions, so let me just look real quick. Let's see. So feeding the most natural source of minerals, especially in iron overload situations.
Okay, so iron overload. So yeah, that's something that we have in Western Australia. We've got quite iron-rich food, so we don't have to. So making sure that you, excuse me, that you don't have any extra iron in your feeds that you do feed. So a lot of our complete feeds will have iron and things added. So if you've got a confirmation that you do have an iron overload, I assume that they've done a blood test or a hair mineral test and come up with high iron. The other thing you can do is kind of feeding, like I like tannins. So if you have a tannin, that will draw out or reduce the iron absorption. So that's why, if you've got iron deficiency, you don't drink tea with your meal or with your iron tablets. That makes sense, because the tannin will then inhibit the iron absorption. So that will be just an easy way of using some herbs. It's just using your normal tannin-rich herbs that will then draw out the iron at the same time as the feed. Yeah, so that can help. Natural minerals. So that's a tricky one. So how do we know our horses are mineral deficient? How do we know what they need? The only real way to know is to test your water and test your hay, and then test your blood of the horse, and even do a hair mineral test, because that'll give you the whole image of what's going on. But plants that's got a lot of vitamins and minerals are dandelion is really good. Rosehip is fantastic. That's very high in vitamin C, so that's a really, really great herb to feed all the time. It's like, I don't think that's something that you can feed as a food. It's not a dry herb as a food. Nettle is also very rich in minerals. Nettle, probably you wouldn't want to feed too much nettle with your iron overload horse, because it is high in iron, and it is an iron builder or blood builder, let me put it this way. What else is there? Nettle is seaweed is another, kelp is another one. Don't overfeed it, but it's another really great source of minerals, and also then of course your iodine. So yeah, there's a heap, of really great herbs that you can feed that potentially will give you the necessary minerals. But yeah, you just have to do a bit of research and have a look at, okay, well, where's my horse deficient and what does it need, and and then add that into the diet. Yeah, spinach, turmeric. There's heaps.
There's definitely lots of options, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Cool, thank you. Let's see. Jana wanted to know a dog question.
Oh yeah.
Have you ever treated a dog for ulcers? And what brought your attention to this being an issue for that dog, if so?
I have treated dogs with IBD, so irritable bowel disease, which in human terms would be Crohn's or colitis or as such. So they would have ulceration throughout the digestive tract. So I have treated them. They have all been veterinary diagnosed, and we just took them off the steroids. Not took them off the steroids, but the kind of with the vet's help, we changed the diet and reduced the steroids, and then introduced some herbs in there that helps with the gut, protecting the gut, helping to heal ulcers. So again, similar to horses, you want to protect them, similar to humans, similar to all, living creatures that's got a colon or a stomach. You kind of have to work at your pH balance, because you don't want to, so using a pH modulator such as meadowsweet, for instance, is a great herb that I use. And it's also got a component in, but you've got to be careful with that one with dogs, though, hang on, because that's got the silicic acid in, so you probably can't use that with dogs. You can use it with horses.
Okay.
But using nutraceuticals like L-glutamine, aloe is great. Cabbage soup is really good for healing the gut, because it's got a natural L-glutamine. What else is there? Aloe vera. Oh gosh, I'm thinking slippery elm. Love slippery elm. It's really, really great. Yeah, and it's also a good. So looking at your probiotic and your gut microbiome, I think is important there to get the balance of good and bad bacteria right. So giving the probiotic and the prebiotic, and then working on food, again, diet. For me, I am a prime or a firm believer in eat species specific food. So my dogs and cats do not get biscuits or kibble ever. So they get fed a raw primordial type diet. Yeah. So that and that way you don't have as many issues as you have, like you don't have that issues with the acid being different, and it's just the way that nature intended things to be, Yeah.
Right. Makes me think I might want to change things up for my girls. So
Yes.
I'll have to do some more research, but yeah, they're still quite young, so it'd be nice to get them on a good track. So yes.
Oh yeah, and I mean, and that's the thing with, like, people say to me, where did you start? How did you get into it? I had a Staffy, which is actually the dog on my Facebook page, the Staffy that's lying there.
Yeah.
And she was very sensitive. She started off being fine, and then as she got older and we moved to the new property, she started getting a huge amount of seasonal itching. And and at first it wasn't too bad, but every year it would get worse and worse and worse, to the point where I ended up going to the vets and going, well, listen, we need to do stuff. What's going on? And we had her on antibiotics, and we had her on injections. We had her on, she was on cortisone and everything, and it just didn't do anything. As a matter of fact, it actually made it worse every time it came back. Wow. So that made me look, and that's also when I kind of started studying my naturopathy, and that made me go, well, why am I feeding my dogs out of a bag? But I feed, when you learn all about nutrition and the importance of food that's alive, I can talk forever about food and dog food and cat food, so don't get me started. But through
we might have to have you come back.
Yeah,
a whole segment on that.
Yeah, we fixed her.
Well, that's really good to know. Let's see. Let me ask just a couple more questions, because I know Kara had quite a few. Let's see. Oh, so this is more recent for her. Any treatment to prevent infection after a tooth extraction that protects the gut as much as possible?
Okay, so tooth extractions, there you kind of have to make sure you don't have any infection, because it does affect the heart quite quickly if you have, and even for people, it's the same thing. So definitely like gentle saline rinses on a regular basis, would like just a bit of saline or a solution squirted into the mouth, but not directly onto, if you do it too much, you're going to stop the healing from happening. So I also like herbs in that respect. So the dentists use clove, like a clove mixture, which is really good. Which you can use like a rinse again. Colloidal silver is something people would use.
Oh, yes.
What else? Tooth. Arnica. Yes, homeopathic arnica. If you get them onto the homeopathic arnica as soon as you can, you will work on pain. You will work on bruising, swelling. The healing will happen. Listen.
Oh, yes, I love arnica.
Arnica, you need arnica. Everybody needs homeopathic arnica spray or pillules everywhere, because you use them as soon as an injury happens in their mouth.
Anytime I came off of a pony, man, that was going under my tongue.
Yep, straight away. Straight away, yeah. And just use, the acute, arnica is really good. There's a couple of other homeopathics you can look into if there's particular symptoms that happens, like what is the one? It's staphysagria, which is another one, which is like when you've, and it's an emotional component as well, but it's also kind of against infection as well. So if you've got a wound that's not healing properly, you can use that one. And it's also about, let's say you have been violated with a surgical procedure, for instance, if something happened against your consent. So you was in an accident, or you've been in an accident and you had surgery done, and and now your mind is going, I didn't agree to this. So you kind of, so it's like that kind of emotional component to that as well. Like you wanted to have a natural birth, but you ended up having a cesarean. So that could kind of, like, that's what I mean with against your consent in a way. So it's not something the body necessarily wanted. So that could be another one to help.
Okay. And that's interesting you say that, because I just had a session with Jana and we were talking about all the metal in my body, and my body was actually treating it like a foreign object. Like you go to sleep and you wake up and then it's in there. Like, I didn't have a say in this, And so I had to, tell my body it was okay and we can integrate it. And it's very interesting how that unfolds. So
and that's fascinating when you look at the emotional component with healing. I mean, that's another thing which I think is so important. Like, so your intent for your animal's health is so important. So studies have been done on the medical side where they looked at doctors. So doctors who had a negative outcome or looked at you and said, oh, I'm sorry, there's nothing we can do. Their patients actually didn't progress very well. Doctors who said, you know what, there's always hope. We can do everything we can. We're going to just fight for you. Those people are quite often the people that end up having great outcomes, because the intent of the healer and the intent of the patient client is that one of healing. And the power of our mind, and it's like this, it's just such a thing that we just completely forget in modern medicine. It's like your own intent, and the same with your animal. If you look at your animal and go, you are going to get through this, you're not going to give up, you're going to do it, if you are that cheer person for your horse, it makes it so much easier for them.
Totally. And I know you're studying a little bit on quantum healing. I just wanted to mention a concept that had come to me, that I've learned about, is you can imagine the most perfect blueprint of your body or your animal's body, and imagine that perfect blueprint merging with your body. So that way you can feel like you're literally doing a quantum leap, jumping into that feeling and holding that vibration so strong. So that will help you whenever doubt comes, say, no, I'm focusing on this perfect blueprint. And that merging is such a beautiful thing if you can hold space for that, even for just a little bit each day.
No, absolutely. I think that's something we need to investigate more. Like you look at the work Joe Dispenza does with, all that frequency, and you've got all these little bioresonance things, because you've got to remember your body, you're an energetic being. Your body is everything in your body is a frequency and an energetic, even the pathogens are has got their own frequency. So then you look at the rife. It gets really interesting, the rife technology that targets specific frequencies to eliminate those pathogens from your body and heal things that need to be healed. And again, takes us back to food. If you eat live food, you absorb that vibrance, that frequency that it comes with it. So if you eat something which is fresh from the garden, as opposed to a biscuit that's been cooked and it's dead food in my, you know what I mean? You get benefit.
Yes. Yeah, I need to start drinking more of my green drinks again. You've inspired me.
Anneke, just even putting intention. Just putting intention in everything you eat. Think mindful eating, thinking, oh, I'm eating this and it's going to nourish my body, it's going to heal my body. I'm taking this herb and then I can imagine how it's working through my body or through my horse's body, like that. You said that visualization, talking to your cells. And
I literally just wrote that in my inner guidance because I was like, what does my body need? They need you to slow down and say everything I eat is nourishing myself and giving me fuel. I'm like, so you're confirming this yet again.
Yes. And the water you drink, drinking filtered water is so important to try and get, like I always say, if you can afford a reverse osmosis filter, get one. Just get or rainwater if you're lucky enough to be able to have rainwater.
Although out here, the rainwater is probably not the best. But yeah, we have the reverse osmosis in our sink now in the kitchen. So that's the only water we drink. Before that, we had the Big Berkey. And the Big Berkey is a wonderful filter. It's expensive, but it's worth it. So if you can't get the reverse osmosis, but that one's the next level.
Give your dogs the same. Give your dogs reverse osmosis water. Yeah.
We're very strict. They only get the good stuff. And then I feel bad about the horses, but there's only so much I can do on that.
It's a bit harder to filter the water, but maybe there you could put your intent in, like with Reiki energy.
And then maybe we could actually start like putting labels on their big water trough. How the water study where you put names on the water like love and joy and health and success. And then you take that in. So, oh my gosh. Is there anything that I didn't ask you that you still wanted to share tonight?
I don't think so. I think just being mindful, being aware of your health, being aware of your animal's health. Oh, that's the other thing is sometimes our issues actually get transposed onto our horses.
Oh, yes.
And I've come across that a few times now where it's actually the horse will come up with an issue, but it's not the horse's issue, it's the owner's issue. And you have to address the issue in the owner, and then not only in a structure, but like a mental, physical issue as well, where like the owner has got an issue with their back. And once they get that fixed, the horse is fine as well. It's or even just illness and things where they take it upon themselves, So that's another thing. So be mindful of your health and your what you are portraying to the horse,
what energy you're bringing to them. Yes, exactly. So if you had a big billboard that could say a phrase to the horse world that everyone would see, what would it say?
Oh dear, there's so many things to say. What would it say? Be kind, listen to your horse, just appreciate them for who they are, as an individual. But I think the main thing is just to listen to your horse, isn't it? We're so quick to just force them to do something. You will do this. I want to do this. Maybe just take a step back and consider what they want.
Yes, you're speaking my language, lady.
Maybe I'm listening to you too much.
Never too much. I love it. Well, I so appreciate your time, and I know the group does as well. How can people find out more about your services?
So I've got a Facebook page, which is called The Animals with an S, Naturopath. And then my website's the same, The Animals with an S, Naturopath.
Excellent. Well, I will share the links.
.com, sorry.
I'll share those links with everyone under this interview. And then if you like, we'll make it into a podcast. It'll go into the show notes as well. So we will let people know how amazing it would be to work with you. And I just so enjoy chatting with you. Thank you so much again for doing this.
Thank you. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to speak to you and your group. Really appreciate it.
You're
Spreading
welcome.
the message.
It's so important to just remember to tune in and listen to ourselves and to our horses.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, if anyone else wants to learn more about my services as well, you could always look at inspiredriding.com. Thank you again for being here. Thank you for listening. Remember to lead with kindness for yourself and for your horse. And may the horse be with you always.